Let's go Falcons! After our last matchup, our Atlanta Falcons have started to shake things up a bit, and I'll give you all the details. But before we dive into today's breaking news, hit the like button so you don't miss any of the latest updates, and hit subscribe to stay up to date on all things Falcons. Alright, let's jump into today's big story. The Atlanta Falcons are still hard at work revamping their roster, and Tuesday was a busy day in Flowery Branch. The Falcons worked out 9 players, including some pretty familiar names. From former Rams starting cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon to 2 former first-round wide receivers, Philip Dorsett and John Ross. It's clear the team is leaving no stone unturned as they prepare for Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's start with the wide receivers, because these names should catch your attention. Philip Dorsett, the Colts' former first-round pick in 2015, and John Ross, who set the 40-yard dash record at the Combine in 2017, were both scouted by the Falcons. While their careers haven't lived up to the hype that came with their draft picks, these guys still bring speed and experience to the field. Could one of them add the spark we need to the receiving core? The Falcons didn't stop there. Byron Pringle, a former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver with Super Bowl experience, was also part of the workout. And don't forget Andy Isabella, a former third-round pick with blazing speed. Now, the name that really jumps out at us is Ahkello Witherspoon, the Rams' former starting cornerback. This guy has a history with our head coach, Raheem Morris, when Morris was the defensive coordinator in Los Angeles. Witherspoon had a breakout season in 2023 with the Rams, starting all 17 games and recording 3 interceptions, 52 tackles, and 14 passes defended. That kind of production would be a welcome addition to the Falcons' secondary, given how well our cornerbacks, Terrell, Mike Hughes, and D. Alford, performed against the Steelers last Sunday. Adding a proven veteran like Witherspoon could only make this group stronger. And don't forget, we have Clark Phillips III waiting in the wings, who showed some flashes in the second half of that game. Witherspoon's familiarity with Morris' system could make him a perfect fit. Let's not ignore the tight ends who came in for a workout. Jody Fortson, who some of you may remember from his time with the Chiefs, was among the 4 tight ends the Falcons evaluated. With Kyle Pitts still our guy, adding depth and versatility to the position could be crucial as we get deeper into the season. So far, the Falcons have a full 53-man roster after trading Taylor Heineke to the Chargers, but more changes could be on the horizon. With a big Monday Night Football game on the horizon, it wouldn't be a surprise to see the team make a few more moves to prepare for the Eagles. The question is, which of these 9 players can land a contract and make an impact on the field? Alright, Falcons Nation, I want to hear from you. What do you think of these workouts? Are you excited about the possibility of adding some speed at receiver? Should we bring in Witherspoon to bolster the secondary? Week 1 didn't go exactly as planned for our Atlanta Falcons, but hey, it's early. There's a long season ahead, and while we had some issues on both sides of the ball, there are still a few key positives we can build on as we gear up to face the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 2. Today, we'll break down who thrived and who needs to step it up after Sunday's loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Spoiler alert, one Falcons legend looks like he's all the way back. Falcons Nation, you know I've got to start with Grady Jarrett. He is back. After suffering a knee injury last year, a lot of people were wondering if Jarrett could return to his dominant form. Well, any concerns were washed away on Sunday. Grady was an absolute force on the defensive line, recording 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 quarterback hits. In fact, he became the franchise leader in quarterback hits, passing a major milestone. Not only did Jarrett look like his old self, but he also reminded everyone why he's the heart and soul of this Falcons defense. Now, let's be real, he did take advantage of a Steelers offensive line that was banged up and inexperienced. But come on, we'll take it. Jarrett looked explosive, and if he can keep this momentum going into Monday Night Football against the Eagles, he'll be a nightmare for their first-year starting center. Look for Grady to continue to lead this defense with his mix of power, experience, and that high football IQ. Next up, let's talk about Ray McCloud, one of the most talked about names this offseason. He came into Sunday's game and showed why he was worth all the hype. McCloud was Kirk Cousins' favorite target of the day, catching 4 passes for 52 yards on 8 targets. What's even more impressive is that he accounted for nearly all the yards on the Falcons' only touchdown drive, with 3 catches for 45 yards. He was everywhere when it mattered most. McCloud also showed up in the special teams game, lining up alongside Avery Williams for kickoff returns. It's early, but I'm calling it now. McCloud could end up being our best defensive free agent acquisition of the year. Falcons fans, remember the name. He's just getting started. Finally, we have to give a shout out to Robinson. The Falcons coaches told us in the offseason that this guy would be the focal point of the offense, and boy did they deliver on that promise. Robinson carried the ball 18 times for 68 yards, and while those numbers may not blow your mind, Keep in mind that the offensive line struggled all day. Despite that, Robinson turned what should have been losses into runs for no gain and made something out of nothing. And let's not forget, Robinson wasn't just running the ball, he was also a receiving threat, catching 5 passes for 43 yards. Overall, he averaged 4.8 yards per touch, a solid number considering the circumstances. As we head into week 2, expect Robinson to be even more involved, especially with Cousins still finding his footing. This kid is a game changer, and we're lucky to have him. Of course, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Let's dive into the areas where the Falcons need to step it up. First off, let's talk about offensive coordinator Zach Robinson. This was his first game calling plays for the Falcons, and let's just say, it didn't go as planned. The game plan was way too predictable. ESPN Stats and Info reported that we ran 96% of our plays from either shotgun or pistol formation. That's just not going to cut it in the NFL, where defenses will pick up on tendencies like that quickly. Even worse, Robinson barely used play action, which is surprising because Kirk Cousins thrives in those situations. When you've got a quarterback who struggles to find rhythm, the play caller has to help him out. Unfortunately, Robinson didn't do that on Sunday. And let's not even get started on the decision to use Kyle Pitts as a blocking tight end. Pitts is a game-changing receiving threat, so why was he out there blocking instead of catching passes? Now, we all knew this was going to be a rough matchup for Caleb McGarry, and unfortunately, it played out exactly like we feared. McGarry struggled all day against the Steelers' pass rush, and Cousins paid the price. McGarry allowed multiple pressures and was part of the reason Cousins looked so uncomfortable in the pocket. Let's be honest, this is who McGarry is. He's going to have a handful of games this season where he struggles, but he'll also have some solid outings. The Falcons have committed to him, so we're going to have to ride this wave and hope he can find more consistency as the season goes on. Finally, we have to talk about Terrell. After signing a big contract in the offseason, expectations were sky high for him coming into this year. But Sunday wasn't his best showing. Terrell had a tough time dealing with the physicality of Steelers wide receiver George Pickens, and even though the stat sheet might not look too bad, Terrell benefited from some penalties that could have gone either way. The problem is that Terrell has struggled against physical wideouts before, and things aren't going to get any easier next week when he has to line up across from A.J. Brown. Terrell needs to figure this out fast because Brown is one of the most physical receivers in the league, and he'll be a big test for our secondary. All right, Falcons fans, that's the breakdown for week 1. It wasn't the start we wanted, but there are plenty of positives to build on. Grady Jarrett looks like he's back to his dominant self. Ray McCloud is emerging as a key playmaker, and Bijan Robinson is proving that he's the future of this offense. But we've also got some areas to clean up. Zach Robinson needs to get more creative with his play calling. Caleb McGarry has to tighten things up in pass protection, and A.J. Terrell needs to bounce back in a big way against the Eagles. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Are you feeling optimistic about the season? Or are there still too many question marks? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the latest Falcons news. Thanks for watching, and go Falcons!